This week on the 77% Street Debate.
We have the recent data that shows unemployment is just like more than 25%.
Do you feel that the education system is preparing people with the correct skill sets?
It's not, unfortunately.
There is no opportunity. It has been a year since we started asking for a job.
The 77% has explored many subject matters across Africa, but one word keeps coming up: unemployment. And we're here in the capital of Ethiopia to try and figure out why it is that Africans just can't seem to crack the code when it comes to hiring young people. And I'd like to begin with Idris. He's actually an economist here in Addis. And just to give us an overview of the situation here in Ethiopia, what's the current rate of unemployment?
We have the recent data that shows unemployment is just like more than 25%.
ስራ እየፈለኩ ነው። በአፕላይድ ባዮሎጂ ነው የተመረኩት። አፕላይድ ባዮሎጂ ነው የተመረኩት መጀመሪያ ላይ ማለት ነው። አሁን ሶስተኛ ዓመት ሆኖኛል። ምንም አይነት ስራ እየተገኘ አይደለም። እጅግ በጣም አሳዛኝ ነው የእውነት ለማውራት። ምክንያቱም ያው እንግዲህ የታወቀ ነው የሀገሪቱ ፖለቲካ ጉዳይ ነው። በዛ ላይ ደግሞ እየተሰራ ያለው ፌር አይደለም። የተለያየ ስራዎች ነው እየተሰሩ ያለው።
There is some sort of improvement nowadays, but prior to the Abiy government or regime, I can say that it was totally about the political affiliation that you have, whether you are employed in a certain place or not. So long as you don't have this kind of affiliation, it is so hard. But nowadays, there's a visible improvement. There's a visible improvement. But still, there's no job.
አብዛኛውን ጊዜ እኔ ከራሴ የማየው የስራ ልምድ በጣም የስራ ልምድ ይጠየቃል። ተመርቀው ደግሞ የስራ ልምድ አታገኙ። ያው ሰው ደፍሮ የማይቀጥረን ደግሞ ከሆነ የስራ ልምድ ማግኘት አንችልም።
All right, let me now come to Dawit, who works for the Jobs Creation Commission, which is part of government's mandate. I read some interesting statistics that you've created a lot of work and jobs for people within a short span of time, but we're hearing 25% unemployment. That's not good.
Yes, that's correct. Of course, we've been doing this for the past 1 year and actually for the past 6 months. So to solve the structural problem of youth unemployment, which actually affects not just Ethiopia but Africa, takes quite a bit of time. We're facing a conundrum now, right? The public sector has been carrying a lot of the weight for employment for a long time, with sidelining the private sector. So we think now we need to engage the private sector. There's a lot of private practitioners that want to get into the medical field and also invest some money and hire, but because of some structural problems, they haven't been able to absorb that workforce.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do, actually, we're working with the medical association, we're working with student associations, trying to understand the situation and also work with government to expand private practice services. That's one of the areas.
All right, let me now speak to Diana. Here you are, right next to me. We're hearing that there's a gap in the market because the government is under too much pressure. They're forced to create jobs for everyone. But you have taken the initiative and you've decided, I'm still in school, but I'm going to do something different. Tell us about that.
Looking for jobs after we graduate is like a bit of a hustle, and there's like too many people that are unemployed. It's better to create a job, be an entrepreneur, be your own boss, and empowering yourself, doing something that would change the country, help yourself, and change your family's lives.
Ruth, does this sound familiar to you? You're also an entrepreneur, but you're still in school.
Yeah, I totally agree with Diana. I feel like the people that are graduating currently should not only look for jobs but also create them. So I feel like in the future it's probably going to be like most of us are starting like are creating jobs, and we're going to continue on doing that.
Okay, let me come back to the economist here because I want you to tell me how easy or difficult it is to be an entrepreneur. I mean, when you look at the list of ease of doing business, Ethiopia, unfortunately, is not doing so great.
Yep, I mean, if you look at the recent data for the doing business, we are ranked the bottom. So the private sector.
Sorry, can you tell me what makes it so difficult to do business here?
The finance is difficult to get access. The licensing is very difficult. So it's mostly related to the government side. There has to be ways to ease the business environment in terms of starting a business.
Okay.
It's not easy.
All right, I want to double back here to Diana. When you started your business, I know that you're doing something along interior decoration, even though you're studying architecture. Was it easy to set up that business?
It wasn't, because there aren't many guidelines to how to start a business while you're still in school, and there's also the problem of having school and like starting this as a part-time job. It would be better to have support from the government to support small businesses like us, which are in school, and give us like the guideway and the trainings to like all the different factors of starting a business, such as like the payment, the taxing, and all of that. It would be good to have like some guidelines, support.
Okay, so does the Jobs Creation Commission put this into account? It's one thing to say we're going to give you a job, but are you creating the environment for people like Diana and Ruth to thrive?
Precisely. I think we just came up with a 5-year plan that addresses both the supply, demand, and the linkage issue in the job market that both my colleagues were describing. The financing is also a big issue. I don't know if this came up in their journeys, but we're really working with some of the biggest banks like Commercial Bank, Dashin Bank, to allow non-collateralized loans, small micro loans that can kind of help them kind of get from 0 to 1. So there's a whole package we've designed, and it's all in the website, and everybody's free to go have a look at it.
I really like how government officials will always plug their websites. Okay, so we've been focusing on the basic overview, why people are unemployed. But Idris, I want to come back to you. What happens when a huge population of educated people goes for years sometimes without employment? What's the impact of that?
It has a wide implication in terms of economics and in terms of politics as well. We have one of the largest migration into the Middle East and European countries. And we have also this political instability that's mainly driven by the frustration of many young graduates not able to find jobs in the labor market.
Dawit, let me come back to you, because we were speaking about the impact of unemployment. I mean, how does it feel when you hear that doctors who you have painstakingly put through school leave the country and go to work in America or UK or indeed Germany?
It's very sad. I'm not saying that we're not concerned. The government is seriously concerned. And as a citizen, I'm also concerned to see, kids that have gone through, 6-7 years of medical school to be out in the job market, not finding jobs. That is, for a country, that's tragic. We completely recognize the problem, and we want to do something about it. And I can assure you, and I can assure them here, that we will find meaningful employment within their country, because there is so much they can do here, so much they can do in terms of helping their citizens.
Okay. So let me speak to the doctor who says that he's not found employment. Have you been tempted to leave this country to look for a job, say, I don't know, in Kenya, Tanzania?
Initially, when I came, when I joined the med school, I was there to help my country, my people. But here after graduating from med school, there is no opportunity. It has been a year since we started asking for a job. The government is not, they are trying their best, but they are not working. And this year alone, in the coming 2-3 weeks, near to 1,000 physicians are graduating from med school. So I don't know how do they handle that,
By the way, I should mention that unemployment rates in this country are going down. But unfortunately, the number of graduates seem to be disproportionately unemployed compared to the national figures. Ruth, earlier we talked about women being disproportionately disadvantaged by this. What's the job market environment for women? Why is it so difficult for women to get jobs?
I think the major factor that's creating this kind of problem is the cultural aspect of Ethiopia. Like, as we all know, like, women are mostly focused on kids, on raising kids and doing some household work, and not being creative and doing something out in the world. But now, when it comes to our generation, I think we're kind of trying to get out there.
Do you think that women, for example, have been looked over because they're women when they apply for jobs compared to men?
Maybe, yeah. I think that's a factor.
Yeah. Does anyone want to speak on that, the role of women?
It's not that I only believe that women have been overlooked, but it's also that the mindset of the people have been so that the women I mean, in the city and where we grew up is okay, but majority of the country is that we have not empowered women, and they are not even self-confident in order to apply. There was this platform that said 50% women on board that was held by AWIB last week, and they were trying to encourage people so that they can take the lead. And it's not only that they're overlooked, but again, I'm saying that they're not empowered enough.
Okay, they're not empowered. Addis, do you feel this way? Do you feel, for example, if you were to apply for the same job as Fasil here and Freya, that you would get the same opportunities?
Yeah, like previously it might have been difficult, but I believe that this our generation is like privileged more in that, so I don't think that I'll be facing such problems. And even if I will face, I'm going to fight it. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that. Okay, Diana, I'm going to come back to you. We talked earlier, actually our first debate was on hate speech and political unrest. To what extent do you think youth unemployment is contributing to that?
I think some people think if the current government is like not currently on there, they would have like a better chance in like getting employed. So like they need, the craving for something better begins from like getting your voice heard, being active, like politically active, because like the current government isn't answering to everyone else.
Okay. And I'm going to come back to you, Dawit, because we've been talking about the fourth industrial revolution, Africa being the frontier of that. Do you feel that the education system is preparing people with the correct skill sets to occupy these jobs?
It's not, unfortunately. Unfortunately, that's why I say unfortunately. But we recognize that. That's very important, right? Never too late. So we recognize that, and we're going through a reform. I don't know how much you were aware of that, but there's a new curriculum that's being devised that would incorporate the 21st century skills, and everybody talks about it, the digital skills. That's all I can tell you right now.
All right. So let me talk to the people who are in the existing school curricula. Do you feel that you could get hired in whatever country you so wish to choose based on the education you've received?
No, I don't think so. Because as they said, the skill set that where it's needed, it's not only in other countries, let alone that. And let's talk about the private sectors. Right now, the policy has been changed so that they can take a couple of fresh graduates. But when we go there and talk to them, they would tell you that they don't have the actual skill sets, and that's what the education system is not providing. They are providing us with the technical skills, and I've been saying that they have been teaching that to solve past problems, let alone the future ones. Yeah. So that really needs to change.
Okay. So how do we change this dynamic entirely? How does the African continent solve this issue? I'd like to start with you.
I feel like the government has a major role, as it has been said. So they need to provide some trainings and create more jobs. And also we have to depend on the private sectors, because everybody needs to create jobs, or maybe do something of our own. And I think we might be able to solve the problem that way.
Okay. Yeah. Idris.
I would say, I believe that we need to revisit the curriculum in terms of making sure that these graduates are able to compete with not only with Ethiopians, but with the African continent as a whole. It's just like a sad story to hear that new graduates don't know the basic computer literacy. They don't know how to use emails and so on. That's a huge problem in terms of being competent enough with other international labor force.
Okay, so we have university students here. Is it true that you don't have competent IT skills? Is it true? It's true. Okay.
It's true that when you come to technology, there's some sort of phobia in our country. I don't know why. The people are getting more distant from the technology. I don't know, because it's so much difficult, or I don't know why, but it's more difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So while we're here, how do you think Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, all the African countries can resolve the problem of youth unemployment?
I think when you see the youth unemployment, it's not the absence of job that are the issue right now. Like for example, as a medical professional, I don't think that only medical professional can solve the problem in the healthcare system, because other professionals have to join together to solve some issue, and also we can contribute as a healthcare professional the solution for other professionals also. And I think everybody should join, and there should be a platform that make easy to work together in Africa.
I like that. So you think a collaborative effort is required. Addis, you're nodding. Are you agreeing with this?
Yes, as my colleague was saying, this working in collaboration is really an important point. The approach will be more of holistic, and it has to plan for generations and the like.
Diana, we're talking about the private sector, and you are it because you're currently self-employed, potentially employing other people. How do you think you can facilitate more jobs in the future and with people like Ruth?
I think in Ethiopia, most people depend on the government and the private sector, but a big deal is being an entrepreneur, which is like a very booming topic right now because you employing yourself could help like the government and like not put some forces on the government because you could employ yourself and inhabit yourself and like take care of yourself.
Okay. Now we're going to end with Dawit because we keep hearing government. But to be fair to you, the number of jobs that you've created in the 1 year is simply nothing to be ignored. But I want to ask you a different question. You said you want to hear from the stakeholders. What have you learned today? What are you going to implement in your office?
So for me, there's so much optimism that I like that, and resiliency as well. Because I came to this filming expecting a lot of complaints. Young people always agitating, trying to get the government off the cliff. Right? For me, I'll go back to my office and start thinking about maybe starting a small round table, a town hall that we can maybe get used together, maybe once, twice a year, and have an open discussion like this. For me, it's been quite encouraging.
Okay, and if you do have that round table, be sure to invite DW to cover that. Okay, so this has been a very positive debate, I have to say. And as Dawit said, the youth here are ready. They actually have the skill set. They just need the support. I don't know what you thought about that, but I learned quite a bit. Thank you for watching.